Hello, species. Species is a gaining nature of volume. I want to speak to you about the species nature of volume as an identity of nature, as an identity of nature, of relationship to itself, and as the value of that, and as the value of that simultaneously into what and by what and how and why. See, value Y is always temporary slash lasting positive, but as temporary or slash lasting positive or negative. As positive identity has three natures of itself, which is positive that is also positive unto itself, our nature, no matter who it's in. And is also, in other words, we have three natures of volume: inherent, active, and progressive, in relationship to one complete identity that is invisible but so discernible. Anyways, because, for example, not just because inventions work or not in relationship to it and to its identity of relationship to itself. See how to explain that our fact treatment nature is obligated to be a quality of fact treatment nature about this quality of relationship to itself that is positive or negative in relationship to the three natures of volume we are as logic's value. See, we have roles with identity thefts missed. For example, the value of equality is to see where this identity's identity of relationship to itself and the value of that is value. Any value discerned is a semi-nature relationship to itself. Science reveals this because if you play it out, we don't have free speech though. Per the offense, and we have at the same time, not by accident, offensive evidence reception crimes. Not by accident at the same time, at all our roles to what tribes A through Z missed. Through colonists A through Z missed, because nations A through Z missed it first too. And to the extent they didn't, everyone, modern nations are in a semi-ancient, affected, self-valued, fact treatment nature quality valued. That if you value that, it's simultaneously valuing the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures blamed on other things, others themselves, and especially in regards to others, especially in regards to how we have no logic. Leadership, we have nations grouped with psychology, with physical delusions, identity theft rackets, exploiting anomaly with the phenomenon of database, where in other words, no one sees it, they just keep stacking things. And this is with their collusion with branches of government individually, originally and still involved with gun natures of gun crimes. It's not the gun that's criminal. It's not the right to have a gun that's criminal. It's the collusion between the branches individually grouped and together, and with overt criminal enterprises as worse victims as roles with more overt but the same overt criminality with them and everyone else mixed, all criminal insidiousness nature roles. So this is what I want to do for New York. I want to monetize the me teaching this class for you, for to be owned not by me, because I want to stack other things too. But I want to first all together concentrate on Forsaken slash, bottom of Forsaken slash top of Forsaken, and I want to connect this with where and how even the suburbs are designed to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures recorded already having been valued blamed on other things, selves, on others. So I want the world to understand when we have negotiations about the nuclear weapons and things like that. I want the world to understand how we have hundreds of nations going to space. Everything's all declassified. Obviously, they lie and then they don't know how to lie, to pretend to be about the truth. They have this tied to notions of a higher one needs to be comfortable each age is simultaneously, distinctly, not distinctly, and simultaneously maintained. Again, what tribes A through Z missed, and what nations A. This is not just this is to have a quality of fact human nature that is capable of countering with juxtaposed alter roles with natures of criminal and citizen's nature, legalized, formal, private tied to them, or other. Private tied to them, but all this is here. This is what forgiveness is too, because this is also what everyone missed. This is juxtaposed, what really is furthering and has furthered the criminal enterprises and all positions of the fact human nature group individually grouped, like what they call the intelligence community, because this person studies this nation, this person studies this nation, the arts, these departments. The campus Marcius is criminally re-engineered. Specifically, all victim predators, each nature of it in each nation. English was revealed by the species valuing itself before, valuing how we are in nature of volume, individual, group, dash, sex, and species nature of volume. It's three natures of volume that are bonded by a complete identity. Jesus Christ and Rasul Allah, Alhamdulillah. That means the messenger of Islam, thank God. And Islam is warning against Muslims who think they understand always, telling them to value unbelievers and or believers that who disagree, have an obligation not to pray, even pray in the mosque. This is about the identity of logic conform to sensibilities that are criminal citizens' nature. I'm not a lawyer, not a police force, I'm not a criminal. Thank God. This is about sequence shifts. This is about uses of them, how they're motivated originally still. Criminally foreign influence, each modern nation's founding. It's not prejudice. It's not equality. It's not what's trying to go for the nature of equality. There's a forced delusion on anyone who entertains identity, not this invisible identity of relationship to itself as our value, as temporary / lasting positive, lost course returns. I'll drop the force for it is the only thing that surges through all things. Each one then learns. So simultaneously, we start setting up means, and then everyone sees it. This is what reveals Santa's gifts. We do it overall up by the identity that is already there. Before anything, before depth, this is a perfect value progression that generated that is making more and more of its one identity of value is demonstrably attached to all other things, the order to the value of the finite. Only the extent of this is debatable. You see, but it's being debated with mass intersciences, not by accident, criminal foreign influences. Roles with sensibilities with the defenses of positive that are exploiting exception nature. This one identity of truth that is true always and as what is exceptions to the truth at the same time as truth, as what is not having that truth, having that process exploited. Business can't speak for the value nature system. It is these are value nature systems, but they're not values nature system. So we thank God for Kim Il Sung for having the simultaneously might and power, you know, to to realize that we have to stop all nations with nuclear weapons, not just but not without dividing that from all the other things, chemical threats, all these issues, in fact, treatment nature, victim predators of education that separate what is inseparable, what is the organized crime method against each modern nation that came from semi-ancient times. This just reminds. This is demonstrably the most only sane and most practical scientific position on history. In other words, and what defended itself with roles and natures of positive other, this knew that couldn't would be victims having to justify their fact treatment nature roles, having to hide light progressions tied to each database, tied to each standing identity of education's value, each age of our nature's volumes values relationship to itself. Knew it would cause negative value nature progressions that they can maintain, motivated by having these natures of roles with value nature systems and with quote work, quote unquote work that are still, you can't defend that and allow and even and defend yourself and even stand hearing correlation nature simultaneously inherent active and progressive means and with sequence true and with identities not stolen. See, we have a mass identity theft, mass natures of crime against people, everyone unequally, that have nothing to do with color, not by accident. All the nations handed roles like this, all filtered through as more motivations, needs, nature's interests, seeing overt criminal enterprises. Even the people that know that study them the most and stuff like that, they're concentrated into identities forged on contrast, forged valuing obfuscation of how correlation nature is the value of equality, and we don't have that. We don't have that, and that is by what is not led by color. It is led by the identity of the ground's relationship to our nature of volume. And we have sensibility treatments. See, we have all victim predators, but and as sensibilities have forced fights, but they can't follow mandated law because they already did too long. We have database solution stacking against each age of fact treatment nature. They pretend other in background, they wouldn't do it. Gag orders. The Hartford, Connecticut, other places they're put on TV before about how the Russians, the Americans, they're in collusion with psychology with a whole bunch of nations, recorded with their patients too. Then they pretend things like, "Oh, it's not good because then people aren't going to seek treatment." What they call treatment. They're fake. They're using that to cover live progressions and overall grouped and finite. And the better they're getting at controlling the finite, the more they have to keep the grouped against each individual grouped, every way grouped, age, family, sex. This is a group nature of volume, forced because this Trinity's relationship to itself has an expanding nature of volume. English, um, all the languages together are grouped overall. English, Latin laws attached to it, and not to take away rights and freedom, but to liberate it. In other words, needs to be able to have sensibilities. They lock people in jail for years. They never let them have pens. They have jails, and they frame innocent people through time. We have worse than education. So with education in each modern nation, staying with again, tribes A through Z, tribal members A through Z, everyone was forced taken from education. More than wanting to kill everyone, needed to kill everyone. They didn't want to kill everyone. They wanted to make everyone so invested in a method that consciously built everyone blaming other things, others themselves, while it knew it was investing everyone needing only capable of doing that perpetually relationship to what really causes negative value nature progressions acts of nature, which is our value of the land's relationship to ourselves, which is the great resource, the identity that inventions work or not in relationship to, and they are further positive or not in relationship to them or not. So this is also why yin yang and alpha and omega, by discerning how they are simultaneously, it's not the right to left or left to right that is positive, even though one identity is discernibly bigger than great to right to left, as far as right to left will ever go, and left to right as far as it will ever go, in relationship to the phenomenon with the sounds and how they were revealed with an identity of relationship to themselves. They weren't invented, the languages. Everything is in relationship to the demonstration of this identity of relationships to itself, with a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more of its complete um value coming in, value of its identity coming in to and through temporary slash lasting space nature, which is where and how we come to Earth's temporary, distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space nature, which is a distinct and non-distinct relationship to it. Allah, but if you understand the first part of the Quran valued properly, you're understanding that this is what is revealed, because this is about that they're talking about internation organized crime, wrongdoers, criminal seditious natures, the positive, and that were forced to agreements. In other words, the species nature of volume was no longer using the identity that is going to reveal evolution's fruits or not. It's going to reveal what's going to work or not. As where and how temporary positive is also lasting. Where and how we're supposed to discern that, and how we are only temporary positive bodies, physics, because of its extra value, discern as everything is, to discern how we are temporary lasting positive, but in relationship to the other value nature course. So I'll drop the force. I speak of source for each. The species volume longs this one alone, it only feels like games. Who trains? See, we have to let them force blame on me, but they can't do it. So legally, they have to do it legally using crime methods against anyone. Each age of correlation nature, each nature of insights to it. So, for example, we had doctors with colonization, with slavery rules, with nations individually grouped and together originally, and for still even through time, we've had them with the sickest roles, with physical delusions, blaming others for it. It's because nations like Russia, America, not by accident, ones with nuclear weapons, uh, all resources, money, value streams, lethal IDs going to space, uh, working to lock people up. We're, lock, lock people into negative value nature, identity of negative value nature roles, self value here and there, fake sides, valuing that where it counts, where how we are fact cheap in nature with this identity, and we're with a complete value, the group values, and the finite values of how we are fact cheap in nature as value. This criminal and ceaseless nature maintains styles that value each other. These sick nations with the nuclear weapons. All modern nations forcing entertain quality of fact cheap in nature. Pseudo positive suits and ties fake thing. The counter still not understand, not letting the first part of the Old Testament, the first part of the Quran value. I didn't even ever read what a holy book Jew is, but it means juxtapose energies wall. It means the species volume is not using its course, which has nothing to do with physics. It has to do with what was before, while being, and and beyond the value of physics. See, but we have that parted from its complete value course, its own as source, or its the simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space nature. Is that where and how this is positioned perfect, where it could demonstrate always this it's invisible but still discernible self, and in the connection of all things. Boxings, it tells us things. Behold. So Allah's name is about is using value G with English. God, the word God in English. Letter G, conceived as a value where and as and how. This is our conversation about how value is nature. And simultaneously nature is value. And simultaneously as identity's value. If you look up reciprocal, so I'm trying to read the dreams of everyone. And that's what it is. Because Native Americans say that some say that we must read each other's dreams. And I know some of them hate the Native American symbol. But see that those kind of the sensibilities, everyone's world is what divide and conquer and made self value breaching screen natures of pseudo patriotism, breaching tools, all motivations, nature's needs and interests with the overt criminal enterprises, with all that maintained private inclusion, with the branches individually grouped together needing to hide live aggressions in relationship to their uses of the value of each age of correlation nature. Need to do that, need to hide those, and then valuing being gangs, criminally foreign influenced states areas, all private tied to them, especially regarding prisons and especially regarding camp, campuses of education, and in conjunction with that. And with, in other words, we have, and with military, especially regarding military. Military is originally and still recorded criminally foreign influence easily. Each modern nation is in a trap. Now one must rap. This is semi-ancient times. They knew that if they could get nations to devalue internation sciences, they would tactically degrade. And they could make them untrust it, hurt it, and they brought it in faces while they were still continuing it. We're in a semi-ancient, organized, archetypal, organized crime that is most probably, and not only most probably, the science reveals to extend. This is what they're talking about with the devil, and where and how Catholicism or Christianity is distinct from the Old Testament written in English, for example. And this is tied to quality of fact, treatment nature differences, and sensibilities with treatments of positive where people just get along. Defending identities of positive as criminal natures, again, as tools. I'm not a lawyer, not police form, not criminal. This is how recorded through time, is how they invest what each individual of American missed and only understand through their needs to hide short, you know, because of their needs to hide lie, already having been liars, styles of liars, pretended legalized, not legalized, never. So we have to have the species value. Pretend if your parent, you know, had to yell at the whole species. Here's what they would do if they could, if they were the parent of the whole species right now. In other words, that's also having to do with the science that these books are about. But they knew they wouldn't be. The Old Testament and the Quran are value as nature, as the subject, and that simultaneously nature has value, and that simultaneously as the identity. That is the value that I'm talking about with how, where, and how, as and how the letters of the English language are bonded by complete identity of relationship to itself, as gaining nature of volume every time we make a word. We bring it to a group. Everything individual group and altogether volume is only increasing. So it's the rest of nature has no criminal foreign influences. So too long. That's the only reason why, even though we're on value nature systems other than this values nature system, and this is what Native Americans, what our species longs. The identity that was before the depths, while being the depths, and while being inseparable from our body of value, fact, treatment, nature, quality. You see, people say, "Oh, I just want to be left alone," whatever, like that. I'm saying what people's we're in a tactically denatured. In other words, we're not going by the identity that inventions work or not in relationship to, but through criminal foreign influences in a method that layered all interests, natures, needs, and roles and sensibilities. No, not because of Jane Austen. This has nothing to do with Jane Austen. This is about sensibilities in relationship to criminal and citizen's nature, relationship to predicate acts, relationship to extortion, relationship to torture methods, relationship to pseudo care methods, motivations for it, in other words. Uses of the life progressions of those natures, therefore valuing each individual, group dash sex, and species, valuing the same, justifications of naive reactions forced to naive, subtle and overt, maintained, juxtaposed, facilitated, effectively, maintain self value, meets needs, natures, to hurt each age of fact treatment natures, strangers, ones that aren't, even right through family members, because everyone's sensibilities are with already the branches individually grouped together, having been in collusion with a whole bunch of nations, with a whole bunch of other methods of liars bonded since before anyone was sophistication, since before they used that for collusion, leading up to and in a 2006 case, and leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context with in the Ninth Circuit, with further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved identity theft crime acts rolls against me, against others, all kinds of natures of crimes, and criminal uses of how this is manifest with them needing to hide how they're aware that of how many natures of crimes and motivations and criminals are bonded onto, and that's what's really keeping shootings going on in areas and stuff like that. Before these people are shooting people, there's no other excuse for that. But they don't, but they don't have free speech, and they have sick identity theft rackets against them, especially people that get sent to triage places for mental evaluation. They use that to make things up, to forge names, pretend conversations with people that are involved with child offenders, intercities, proven as the leader of the schools, forced per the roles with it in the background to pretend they had conversations with me, having done so through time, to people who then they go on to what they call intelligence community jobs. What they pretend is not still breached military, intermilitary. How many militaries are with criminal roles with mental diagnosis with rackets, where they have then with various natures of courts. Whole, they have whole needs to with their family members, everything to hide lie progressions, to hide how they've been lying about areas, about every value, to hide their roles with all kinds of criminal and rackets with them and with prisons and with campuses. That's what Santa Claus and St. Nicholas is about. They're not letting free speech have our course. Not one. They have states and areas entrenched with sensibilities as criminal and citizens nature breaching tools, right where people need free speech the most too. It's not. This is not natural. Why there's homelessness. Why they have rat mobs shared policing their spots, shared near water too, and like club spots with on and off campuses, policing, because like especially with DACA, there was a DACA in the past with marketing program. This is involved with foreign and domestic police forms, juxtaposed crimes with private and with overt criminal enterprises. Not by accident, that maintained to keep all valuing fact treatment nature racket rolls, originally and still, Constitution abridged. Our founding fathers' identity stolen in our face by what's pretended to glorify it. So we can't have the simple correlation of um, free speech, Marbury versus Madison, true sequence, and the surface value of the Constitution. It doesn't matter if you know the amendment or what like that. Marbury versus Madison. You don't even have to know that. Free speech, sequence nature. We have nature's of identities of the law that can't defend themselves and pretend to be positive at the same time. I just remind. Uh, they're maintaining fight with ISIS because they need to hide how they've been using criminally intercampuses and each nature of identity of the ground of the sensibilities of the leaders of the religions in relationship to these interbranch rackets, hurting roles with men and women, leaderships, even as judges, roles with child offenders, because they need to hide their life progressions. They're facilitated to it. A whole bunch of natures of abuses of each age of factory nature, the same ones. Vaccines to Campus Dance, return the name. Campus Marcius calls you home. Ancient gaming system wakes again. Return. So what I want to do for New York is set up, you know, train, and that training make the value on for simultaneous reliefs. And then we're gonna make we make a business like we make the campus, and we'll make the best education right online. But our homework goes to the ownership for what we agree. That you know what I mean. And I'll give in the like for example, we're gonna take history in 5 phases: the original propagation phase, the original cultivation phase, the original liberation phase of humanity, then the original um, propagation of that phase, then the original cultivation of that phase, and that's where the republic came from in ancient times. And then semi-ancient times that was criminally re-engineered. And this was, in other words, where they had in ancient times more sophistication than us in regards to quality of fact treatment nature, in regards to how to know how to cause positive or negative um, positive or negative value nature progressions and evolution's gifts, of which the Santa Claus is about, because we have we have offensive evidence reception predator branches individually grouped and together with crime methods individually grouped and together being and having been used to hide offensively, actively, inherently, progressively their criminal foreign influences and uses of the line progressions and uses of their standing line progression cover up nature's needs and styles like that, as that against us still breaching tools and screens. So we have mandated law not followed, also tied to election crime rolls. These are also various natures of courts recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with physical delusions, crime acts rolls with Russians, not consciously, knowing they have agreements on paper that you can't defend and have our constitution told, liberated at the same time. Oh, I just remind. Wait, it's time. So we need, who else will the people will donate in? People, then we make this as a gaming system. When we start getting to the order, we're on the same page. Some oblong ball team or something like that, they're gonna have a big screen. You can play with, New York. Every time some New York, they interact. Get teams throughout the country. We can set up spots to let breathe. People that need reliefs because we have Forsaken. But admitting the Forsaken is means to admit reliefs. We have nature. We need to with this. We need to convert natures of jobs reliant upon negative value nature progressions only let realize fathomable we have to have simultaneously nature of reliefs, knowing that we're in understanding the nature of how everyone is already used as tools against each other, and that self value. Because this is not just the branches inclusion, this is interbranch, and it's the people with the areas, but distinctly and non-distinctly. But this is all people, everyone facilitated to it. So not everyone can't fathom. They think, oh, I'm the one who influenced that or that. No, the same. Their criminal foreign influences are for the same method. This is a whole bunch of nations demonstrated this too, with like Mexico, people associated with a Scholar family with CCSU on and off their campus recorded and confessed and demonstrated violence, all natures of crimes with of identity theft crime acts natures and roles with on and off campuses, interbranch police, foreign and domestic, and military, foreign and domestic, and prison leadership cliques because they train such with the CCSU. Also recorded confessed involved with all kinds of misprision criminality, doctors with drugs, crimes with kids, of medical crime drugs, and of overt gangs drugs. And as people with undercover and those type things like you might see online with catch a predator, things like that. Those people are being used for other natures of crime roles against each age of fact community. They're spreading lies. They're using databases, time relationship. They're using each age of fact nature in an adapting way through time for the same nature of crime method roles. That is a whole bunch of methods of liars bonded. If you know, in other words, this is what, for example, everyone's going to learn that it was a trick to make everyone think that to counter racism is what it was. In other words, and that still is keeping what is keeping juxtaposed hurt on each individual group dash sex and altogether motivated misprision states and areas criminally foreign influenced breaching weapons tools fake patriotism fake fake care and hurt, and that's with it as people who will sacrifice anything because our nature naturally is good and great. These are great people. But when it comes down to fact keeping nature, and everyone is only capable of faith in types of experts, and that is only capable of hiding, of staying invested to quality of fact keeping nature, already having been valued, being valued, that you can't defend yourself from what exploits that. Then everyone doesn't have the sophistication as the only people with the sophistication. So when someone needs to report sequence shifts, when someone needs to report certain types of things, they're forcing types of crimes that are connected, and they're pretending that they believe that people should prove they're connected. They know they're connected though. I mean, it's recorded they're connected. They just need to put something on paper, but they're not. But they're preventing identity of the ground to counters to what is unfathomable through generations with and as the value of the treatment of each age of fact treatment nature when their parents aren't looking, and for the ones who are looking, recorded overtly criminally involved with prisons and with courts of various natures, especially in the Britain Superior Court, further recorded, confessed, demonstrated, criminally involved with identity thefts, attaching kids to fake relationships to others, spreading lies with Joshua Julian, using Facebook pages for sexual crimes with cliques associated with him too. I don't know who he is. He was someone that associated with a whole bunch of people involved with a whole bunch of police forms with a house in my area. And with a whole bunch of people tied to them, tied to various natures of identity theft, crime acts roles. Insidious things online too. I never had anything to do with this Kaliza family. I wasn't like for a decade. I wasn't living in my house and I never knew him growing up. I knew his brother like barely, Terry Kaliza, and his brother, whatever. I won't go into names because I'm just trying to say that, and they make it so hard. They don't. They make up things about people trying to report child abuses. That's because of how we have women involved with the men interbranch, all tied to them needing to hide lie progressions. Also, how many police forms associated with database clicks and with uh, forensics plays and mental health in Connecticut tied to the same house in my area with the drug associated with a directly, indirectly, really with a police chief in my town 1 years ago too, same house and slash other ones, and people got involved like that with that three, and a Kevin Dillon with the house next to it. With and his Anna Dillon, I don't know if that's his wife, and there's a Sean Dillon. Now these are people involved with various natures of police forms involved with crimes with Weathersfield elections, with the town offices, with the identity thefts. These are also people using courts through time, using their databases criminally. These are also people tied to crime acts, intercampuses, and then such illusions rolls further with a proven afterwards, but had been inside the Trade Center attack context court. From inside the court, someone had post-dated documents to show them to the panel of judges that day. That proven led to a 2006 Connecticut case. That was in the Ninth Circuit Trade Center attack context, Manhattan. That proven led to a 2006 case in Connecticut District Court with defendant who was the former director of the FBI, former standing chairperson on RICO law, Robert Luskin. His three of his co-defendants and a whole bunch of other federal criminals were associated with a whole bunch of people involved with the same house slash S with the people that were my age growing up. I never had classes with them. And I explained the exceptions online because they exploit all exceptions criminally. This is how we have criminally foreign influence. Similar with the other nations were involved with keeping this the outcome since before everyone was born. Russians and Americans were already fake against our own, and they're against their own too, with psychology, for example. So it's time that we have their delusions delineated from their criminal foreign influence. You have to follow mandated law because they're forging and switching names with various natures of courts and judges involved with crime methods that way, preventing counters to sustain, like an O'Brien family, also involved with the Russian families and stuff like that involved, and with a former mayor Gold. His family is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a whole bunch of people tied to them, involved with a whole bunch of natures of crime, or crimes with overt criminal enterprises with the police, interbranch, forging names, switching names, crime roles, identity theft, crime roles. Also, people associated with this Phil Clough. I never had anything to do with Phil Clough, who's the cousin, one of the cousins, one of the extended family members of the house in my area, tied to the other ones. This is the person that came in fourth grade. In other words, we're involved with all these police against me criminally in the backgrounds, and with judges criminally, and with they're being using they use child offender prover and they forced, but there's still more recorded force tied to it. I don't know, So also, if anyone knows where this Phil Cololo lives, and or where he works, you know, and who he is, I don't. I know he's a cousin. There's also a Subby Scalora. There's also other scholars related to him, intercity, recorded, confessed, involved criminally. Now, these are people intercity, intercampuses crimes with databases, nature, a whole bunch of natures of identity theft, crime acts roles through time. And these are people facilitated to crimes. So and they're knowing that criminally pretending things like motivations and things like that are of importance. That's why they're not letting me focus on the specific acts. In other words, they're separating natures of crimes. They're stealing my identity with fake YouTube pages, pretending to be me, in pretending to be me in a passion crime act against a woman that they're also recorded torturing, not to no doing bad things to each age of fact cheating nature. These are the people that involve already that forced a child offender principal confessed and recorded and reported per the news. But they also stole my identity to fake communications, fake words too, fake communications with them, sequence shifts, attach me to fake relationships to others. They're exploiting because there's a Leahy family also recorded confessed involved with them, and the one with the house the Phil Cololo report, uh, uh, um, Bob Chase also recorded confessed and demonstrated that he was crime acts roles with this Phil Cololo, also one of the extended family members of the house in my area with further confessions and all kinds of things, drug crime roles with kids through time with these people, with their roles of identity theft. Just because he lives next to me and he's the cousin of my neighbor doesn't mean I never had anything to do with Phil Collo in my life. They tried to make it look other. I explained that exception because I figured out what they're doing now. But they're not putting anything on paper and they're forging names and switching names. There are various natures of judges, male and female, retired and standing, involved criminally with this people and a whole bunch of people on and off CCSU through time, and with a Cuddy family. I also don't know. Recorded, confessed, involved with them criminally with the forensics cliques involved, state police involved criminally, foreign police involved criminally, forensics cliques. These are people also crimes roles confessed with the same house with a bunch of people tied to um, people they put in classes with me, like an Eric Oliveri and like an Eric Jensen, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with criminality with UPS. They also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they're criminally involved with. Also uses of their lawyers. Also, per their roles with the interbranch cliques that are for criminally foreign influences, roles with overt criminal enterprises and military corruption. We think that there were these with Russians and Americans with the same mental diagnosis, fact cheating rackets, where you don't even talk. They're forging names of doctors. They're pretending they don't do things. They're using wire crimes. They're preventing means to people to sue, even because they have even the state's attorneys, and they have the private ones involved criminally used, stacking database with illusions because they have all types of law and treatments of facts that are all fake sides, not by accident, fake middles, physical delusions, criminal foreign influence, recorded. I'll delineate their interbranch, their physical delusions from their criminal foreign influences for you. New York, Hartford, no. Each city, look. We'll spread out, we'll make a means. We get on one page, each modern nation at the same time. We make, we have to reach for the forsaken. And we can't do it through these natures of psychology and all these entertained types of experts as trained per jobs. We can't let their fact cheaping nature racket rolls in natures with treatments of the word environment obfuscate this nature conversation any longer. That's what the president is trying to speak about when he's. I don't know if it was him or who was the reciprocal. What's reciprocal? This is about identity nature. Each of the sciences have been effectively maintained self-valued, self-obfuscated. In conjunction, again, with this crime method that everyone missed, tribes A through Z, nations A through Z before that, from a semi-ancient trap. That one must rap. See drums, see drums. A nom, so long. They've cried. See, everyone understands these are not means. Yeah, well, the only reason I don't understand it properly, how to explain it, because they have American history obfuscated. American history overtly and insidiously, simultaneously, stolen our faces. It's very simple. Free speech. We have mandated law not allowed to follow because we have various nature courts in the background have been lying to others, influence using their means to influence investigators, try to pretend they're with evidence reception criminally through time, and their motivations to it and the methods they're doing this are recorded through time. So some sickly distinct, so everyone missed how not sickly non-distinctly. That's tied to how and why. This Joshua Julian was with his natures of sequence shifts recorded, identity theft, crime acts, harassment, and database crimes with Child Campus Facebook page, and with his roles with narratives, with proven police forms, with crimes, with overt criminal enterprises. Now, see, they were also criminally using database relationships and methods of spreading lies about other people when where and as and how we had the police forms in collusion with overt criminal enterprises, with other nations' police. Private still on charge, still valued, because we have only heard, not by accident, in what is from off the ground of education, on and off campuses to the maintenance of each age of correlation nature hurt this way, overtly, in our faces, and simultaneously, subtly. So we have behavior experts that are making up things because they're involved with it. They're involved with the courts that have their kids already criminally involved with it because they need to hide their life progressions because their identities of value before each age of it, each age of rank, each branch is child abused, gangland, gangsters, ganglands recorded involved with internetwork criminal uses. Like people involved with WFSB also recorded, confessed, involved crimes with child offenders and juxtaposed natures of crimes and roles with it per their other motivations. With WFSB associated with this Joshua Julian, and with the house in my area recorded, houses in my area recorded and confessed involved with them criminally. So these are people involved with a whole bunch of federal criminal code defendants, a former director of the FBI in a 2006 case. But they also were crime acts against me since I was a kid and rolls with it in a steady stream ever since, and right before leading up to that 2006 case too. In conjunction with the O'Brien family and the Russians involved with criminally with the corners of that street, and with the Chamfaglione family, Chamfaglione family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the further with drug crimes and with the courts involved criminally. In other words, with the Brian Silver I had a conversation with. In other words, these are people involved with identity thefts against me, with a Leahy family, with judges retired and standing, attaching me and attaching to kids still to fake relationships to others, fake locations, lying about their family members to them, spreading rumors about through kids with overt criminal enterprises. That's with juxtaposed overt criminal enterprises from various different nations, juxtaposed with the area too, involved directly and indirectly with through through families as recorded victims that they're torturing to be their weapons with a witness protection program, and that's with various natures of FBI involved criminally too. Further, no, this is against me. This is against other people. This is against how they pretend how they're using the various natures of courts criminally involved with the police forms at once, using time as a weapon, too slow, too fast, I'll wait, using that to coach people not to say anything. See, this is juxtaposed natures of abuses. This is women roles with even the sexual offenses, and this is also military associated with identity theft acts roles, and with this Phil Close also recorded a whole bunch of doctors and people involved with identity thefts involved with Middletown. There's like a place on the river, Harbor Park. There's also a Maria Fazina, her husband, and a whole bunch of boyfriends she had recorded confessed involved sequence shifts that she was involved with. Natures of identity theft crime act, wire crime roles, evidence crime roles with police forms, and with the courts criminally involved, and with CCSU acting teachers, and with CCSU, a whole bunch of people from my town criminally involved with people next to the on and off the state judicial branch offices criminally, on and off the campuses criminally. They're keeping live progression, cover up natures, needs, and styles as criminal and serious natures. They're facilitating people to roles with mail crimes, wire crimes, identity thefts, torture, extortion. Forget about it. They have fake YouTube pages pretending to be me. They pretend that that's not their issue. These things are inseparable. Then you can't go in and complain because they'll forge names, switch names. They're caught with child offenders. Further, then the principal they forced. That's then they even reported themselves. That's self-confessed. But they didn't let him confess. The worst recorded with his campus anyway. Anyway, on and off it too, because this is also how they're using the natures with like with the Kerr family, recorded and confessed, involved with various natures of religious spots, involved with different types of religions, but involved with cycles, with courts, with child offenders, with drugs, with crimes, with creepy people too. Then they use weapons and stuff like that. You know, and they use the judges involved criminally, and the police forms involved criminally. So we have further people involved with religious spots, with the houses, and with the families involved further with Jerry Miller also recorded confessed the Jerry Kerr and Michael Kerr also recorded confessed involved crimes with Joe DeMoro and their roles with like that they were allowed to act to pretend like they use timing to make it to act to hold groups in relationship to that time database. In other words, they stealing people's identities that have nothing to do with them, and they pretend they because in the background they can't do it on paper because they were involved with like this Dillon family, involved with people on off the state prison offices, on off the state judicial branch office criminally, with the fake news crime acts clicks, involved criminally with a Mayano, and with the Fazinos, with the wire crimes, with the Steven Stockwell, with people on off WFSB's location, on off Fox CT with them, with a whole bunch of natures of federal crime acts roles, and with a Thaddeus Grabowski associated with as one of the co-defendants of Robert Luskin. Thaddeus Grabowski also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally involved with the corner of Fox CT and with people associated from my town criminally involved with identity thefts against me. Like the Mulcahy girls, I never had one conversation with them in my life. The recorder confessed involved. This is right before leading up to the 2006 case. This was from Hartford. There's also the owners of the building associated with an Allegro's Cafe. Per people, I don't know. I don't even know. See, a Mendez brothers and and Fazina family said confessed to recorded. There also recorded crimes with the time placement of their ad placements with the child offender. Their crime acts roles forced because they were involved with evidence reception crimes offensive with interbranch leading up to that with a whole bunch of people. They just put a whole bunch of people. Then they say, oh, that person's. They say make overall allegations against people because they can't deal with facts and sequence true. We have identity theft rackets roles that are maintained. States and areas of each modern nation, you can't defend that and counter what is the problem behind the nuclear weapons? What is the problem behind interscience's problems with the chemical threats? Interscience problems with all nature's, excuse me, of correlation nature simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means with no free speech, one way redeems. Play New York's game then. We get my response. Give me a response. They're forging names and switching names into branch. Various natures of courts criminally involved with the areas leading up to these cases. I know that were recorded and confessed to me and demonstrated. And I put up means to demonstrate them recording themselves doing it. I didn't ask them. They started this. They maintain this against me and against everyone, each age of fact treatment nature. I never had anything to do with this Gold family, and I don't know what she pretended because she sequence shift. They used her to pretend that I had a conversation with her about her getting mad at me. Now, see, this is the ones that are involved now with the same. What leading up to the 2006 case with the defendant, former director of the FBI, and the ones with the involved with the kids in my classes growing up. In other words, his co-defendants. One of them had a daughter in my grade involved with a Kerr family and with a Demorrow family with abuses of girls. They're told to act, and then they told to make little scenes to make it look like to use a bat, use a gun, use a cars criminally. You know, and so and they're using police forms criminally, like with his Dillon family, further recorded and confessed involved with the natures of child offenders, interbranch associated with other houses in my area, facilitated the crime rules with it. So I know they want to start and keep fights, keep people from not being able to report things and torture them if they do. I'm the person who minded my own business in life. Because everyone's out. In other words, I tried to, when I was obligated to speak about things, I tried to speak about them. No one lets anyone. They're also recorded how using maintaining racism perceived, and motivated pretended because they're having everyone chase a dream of integrity and of what really forsakes it, blame the other things on others themselves, and it's getting in the way when someone needs to make mandated law because now they have everyone in the background with no integrity, so you can't take it. You can't take simultaneously our inherent active and progressive means. One way redeems. They will read the Santa Claus. In other words, follow mandated law. A clause is an expanding nature of value as a nature of volume in relationship to the identity that fills all things as values, relationship to itself. This lifts up Santa's elves, capital E. Let someone see. The means will be